Heavy rains have been hitting central Vietnam non-stop since the evening of November 16, 2025, and the situation has turned serious. Several provinces are underwater, with Quang Tri being one of the hardest-hit areas. The intense rainfall lasted more than 48 hours, pushing major rivers like the Thach Han and Ben Hai past their limits. As the water spilled over, it flooded thousands of homes, farmlands, and major infrastructure across Quang Tri. According to the Department of Dike Management and Disaster Prevention under the Ministry of Agriculture and Environment, this is one of the most severe floods the region has seen in the last 5 years. The damage goes far beyond physical destruction. There are major social and economic impacts as well. More than 13,000 homes have been flooded, with water levels in some spots rising over 2 meters. Because of that, thousands of people were forced to leave their homes and move into emergency shelters set up by local officials and relief groups. On top of that, more than 7,000 hectares of rice fields and other farmland were heavily damaged, creating serious concerns for local food supplies and farmers' livelihoods. The floodwaters also took out roads and bridges, including parts of key provincial routes that link Quang Tri with nearby regions like Thua Tien Hue and Quang Binh. These disruptions made evacuations difficult and slowed down the delivery of emergency aid. One of the most heartbreaking moments happened in Hai Long District, where a local man went missing after being pulled away by powerful flood currents. He was trying to save his animals from a flooded enclosure when the water suddenly surged. As of the evening of November 18th, search teams were still combing the riverbanks, but he hadn't been found yet. In nearby districts like Truong and Cam Lo, families reported major losses as well. More than 350 cows and goats, along with nearly 5,000 chickens and other poultry, were either drowned or washed away by the rising water. On top of that, several irrigation canals and small village dams were seriously damaged, raising concerns about even worse flooding if the heavy rain continues. Right after the situation escalated, the Quang Tri provincial authorities activated their full emergency response plan. Over 500 soldiers, police officers, and volunteers were deployed to help evacuate residents, deliver supplies, and repair essential infrastructure. Schools across the area were shut down for 3 days, and the main hospital in Dong Ha, the provincial capital, expanded its emergency unit to prepare for a possible increase in flood-related injuries and illnesses. The central government also stepped in with food, clean water, medical kits, and an emergency fund of 20 billion Vietnamese dong to support the early recovery phase. During his visit to the region, President Luong Quang offered condolences to the families affected and highlighted the urgent need to strengthen communities and infrastructure against the growing threat of extreme weather events linked to climate change. He also directed ministries to speed up inspections of drainage systems and protective embankments throughout the central region, including Quang Tri, to help prevent future disasters. In his official message, President Quang reaffirmed that public safety remains the government's highest priority and promised that every affected family will receive the support they need. The flooding in Quang Tri didn't just hit homes. It also shook the education system and the local economy. Thousands of students couldn't go to class because their schools were underwater or being used as evacuation shelters. At the same time, small and mid-sized businesses took a major hit after their shops, warehouses, and inventory were destroyed. Over at Dong Ha Market, one of the region's biggest trading hubs, more than 70% of the stalls were damaged by the flood. Many vendors say their losses are worth billions of dong. Local officials have promised financial support to help businesses recover, including low-interest loans and subsidies for those hit the hardest. Environmentally, the flood brought mud, waste, and sewage straight into neighborhoods and farmland. That raised the risk of illnesses like diarrhea, skin infections, and even leptospirosis. To respond quickly, the Quang Tri Health Department sent out mobile medical teams to offer free checkups, distribute medicine, and provide hygiene kits to families in need. Youth groups and local organizations also organized cleanup drives to help clear mud and debris from homes, streets, and public facilities. The massive flooding that hit Quang Tri in November 2025 is expected to leave long-term impacts on the community, socially, economically, environmentally, and even in how local authorities manage future disasters. In the short term, thousands of families are dealing with damaged homes, limited access to clean water and electricity, and reduced medical services. Many schools have been turned into temporary shelters, disrupting classes and leaving children without a stable place to learn. The recent flooding has severely damaged farmland and wiped out large numbers of livestock, putting huge pressure on local food supplies and farmers' incomes. For many families in rural areas, this increases the risk of falling deeper into poverty. On top of that, transportation routes and supply chains have been disrupted, slowing down both emergency aid and long-term economic recovery. And while communities work to rebuild, the emotional impact of losing homes, family members, and personal belongings will stay with people for years. In the months ahead, the Quang Tri region could face lower productivity, more people migrating to big cities, and growing social tension as some areas recover faster than others. Without strong and inclusive policies, this disaster could worsen existing vulnerabilities and make future climate events even more damaging. At a deeper level, the flooding has revealed major gaps in land use planning, environmental management, and overall disaster preparedness. Building in zones prone to floods and landslides without proper risk assessments has only magnified the destruction. And without effective early warning systems or widespread disaster education, communities are left unprepared when emergencies hit. To prevent tragedies like this from happening again, the Vietnamese government needs to move forward with key policy reforms. This includes relocating families living in high-risk zones, restoring upstream ecosystems, reinforcing riverbanks, and investing in infrastructure that can withstand extreme weather. Just as importantly, the government must prioritize public awareness programs and community-level training to build resilience from the ground up. The floods in Quang Tri aren't just another natural disaster. They're a clear warning that climate adaptation and disaster planning need to be built into the country's long-term development. Without smart and sustainable strategies, communities will stay trapped in a repeating cycle of destruction and rebuilding, costing money, time, and weakening their ability to recover. Even though the rain started to slow down on the evening of November 18th, weather experts said more rain could still hit over the next couple of days, especially in the mountain regions where landslides are common. Because of that, people living in high-risk areas are being urged to stay alert and follow guidance from local authorities. Search and rescue teams are already positioned in key areas so they can respond quickly if another emergency happens. Overall, the Quang Tri floods of November 18, 2025 show just how challenging it is for Vietnam to manage more intense and frequent climate-related disasters. This situation reinforces the need to invest in early warning systems, stronger and safer infrastructure, and public awareness about disaster readiness. Moving forward, the government, community organizations, and international partners will all need to work together to strengthen resilience and reduce risks from future disasters. If you found this helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more updates.